So first, we talk about how the monitoring process works. So in this, we put the step-by-step procedure of the system on how this process works. We also talk about what are the general objective of the student monitoring system, what are its pros and cons in implementing this in our institute. So basically, some example of these are to improve the communication and also to create real-time collaboration and to have a more secured process. We also have here on what we call the nature of transaction. Where in this, we explain here how the system manipulate each data that are being gathered by the system. So we explain here that this data can be updated, delete, or stored inside the system. We also have here on what we call the location and the possible operation of the system, where in each information that is being gathered by the system have its own column, where for example, the information that are being gathered from the students, where we have here the name, the address, the gender, and so on and so forth. This information that are being gathered are all put in the student section. Then let's say for the current student, we have here the student number, student name, the course, the professor, and so on and so forth. So this information are being transferred to the current student section. So basically, we have this kind of thing for the system to process more. And yun.
For the architecture section, here's the narrative of the monitoring system for the international students. So, De La Salle University Dasmariñas consists of several international students, namely senior high school, college, and graduate students, but can't be at these three levels at the same time. Students' records are primarily managed and validated by the Registrar's Office of the university, so every data that the International Students Office needs for monitoring will come from this office. Each foreign student is required to enroll one program in a department or college, but a program is not required to have a foreign student enrolled. Programs consist of courses or subjects. These are different departments, and each department has several faculties or teachers. Courses are taught by a respective faculty or teacher. Foreign students can receive or create a schedule of their classes, time, date, and room of their courses that they enrolled from their program. They are given a section and one respective advisor from a specific faculty in their respective department. Whenever a foreign student starts a program, their performance from every course is graded by the teacher or the faculty of that respective course. The International Students Office, or also known as ISO, instructs a foreign student to answer a report form of their academic performance and concerns regularly. Students' grades are submitted by departments through individual submission of faculties or teachers of the grades of students from the course they taught to their department dean or head. And then it will be passed to the registrar's office, and so ISO will request these grades directly from the registrar's office. And in order to validate these reports of the students and monitor their academic performance, foreign students can join organizations. ISO also instructs foreign students to create a report of their activities and concerns in order to monitor their extracurricular activities in the university. And following on this chapter is the data to location crude matrix. So, as we all know that a crude matrix consists of its entity and its attributes, and these attributes from each entities could be accessed in different locations. For this case, in the monitoring system for international students, These entities with their specific attributes can be accessed in the 5 locations. First is for the foreign students. Next is the database administrator, the registrar's office, international students office, and the office of student services. These tables shows the restrictions and rules of approach on the data related in the system transactions. A location, example is the registrar's office. They can access these specific entities and its attributes as individual or all or subset, and it could be X or no access. Every entity attributes can have a specific limitations of access from a specific location by inputting S or submit, C or create, U or update, and D or delete. For example, for the last entity here on the crude matrix on table number 1, for the entity FA activity report, there are several attributes. And for the last attribute, which is the student ID for this entity, so there are specific locations. So the first one is the foreign student. So the foreign student could access this entity individually. And each attributes, it could be, there are specific limitations for this attribute is, for the FS Act number is SCRU, and for the rest is SRU, which means submit, create, or update. They cannot delete this data from this attribute because it is not specified in the crude matrix. Okay. And for the last one, for the last section for this chapter, a figure A, which is the International Student Monitoring Database System, 3 schema architecture, shows the actual viewers of the system, which is on the top layer of this diagram, which are the foreign students, the university administrators and offices, the faculty and staff, and the parent or guardian. And then for the next one, it's the database administrator, or they are the ones in the conceptual level that keeps and explains what data to be stored in the database, the relationship existing among this data, what the data types are, and includes features that specify to retain integrity and consistency of the data. And for the last layer of this diagram, of this schema, is the internal level or the physical schema, which is we are using the Microsoft Access 2017 for the database management system. So that's all for this chapter.
Models. There are 2 different types of data models: fully attributed data model and the relational data model. First one is the fully attributed data model. It tells us about the international monitoring system of fully attributed data model. Fully attributed data model is based on the narrative given that the De La Salle University Das Marinas consists of several international students, namely high school, college, graduate, and foreign student, but can be at these 3 levels at the same time. Student records are primarily managed by the validity of the registrar office. So every data that the international students office needs for monitoring will become from the office. That each foreign student is required to enroll 1 course in a department or college, but a program is not required to have a foreign student. Program consists of course or subject. There are different departments, and each department has several faculties or teachers. Courses are taught by a respective faculty or teachers. Next, a foreign student can receive and create a schedule of their classes that includes time, date, and room of their course that they enrolled for. They are given a section and one respective advisor, specifically faculty in their respective departments. Whenever a foreign student starts a program, their performance from every course is graded by the faculty teachers. The international students or the ISO instruct the foreign students to answer a report form for their academic performance and concerns regularly. Students are graded submitted by the department through the individual submission of faculties, teachers, and grades of the student. Department dean or heads to the registrar office. So ISO will request their grades from the registrar office in order to validate the reports of the students for the monitoring of the student academic performance. Foreign student can join any organization. International Students Office also instruct foreign students to create a report form of their activities concerns in order to monitor extracurricular activities in the university. So next is the relational data model. Relational data model shows all the integrity rules of the data model, including the tables, cardinalities, relationship, and referential integrity constraints. So let's start. Section advisory is reference to sec ID from section table. Next, the section table. In the section table, faculty advisor is reference to faculty ID from faculty table. Next, student section table is sec ID is reference to sec ID from section table. Student ID reference to student ID from foreign student table. Next table is schedule. Course ID is reference to course ID from course table. Next, foreign student general information table. That the student ID is reference to student ID from foreign student table. Program course ID is reference to program ID from program course table. Student section ID is reference from section ID from student table. Student section table. Org ID is reference to org ID from organization table. Next table is the program course. Program ID is reference to program ID from program table. Course ID is reference to course ID from course table. Next table is the department program. Depth ID is reference to depth ID from department table. Program ID is reference to program ID from program table. Next is the department faculty table. Faculty ID is reference to faculty ID from faculty table. Dep ID is reference to Dep ID from department table. Next table is the student grade. Student ID is reference to student ID from foreign student table. Sec ID is reference to Sec ID from section table. Course ID is reference to course ID from course table. Next table is the student schedule. Student ID is reference to student ID from foreign student table. Sec ID is reference to Sec ID from section table. Program ID is reference to program ID from program course table. Schedule ID is reference to schedule ID from schedule table. Next table is the FSA academic report. Student ID is reference to student ID from foreign student table. And the last one is the FS activity report. Student ID is reference to student ID from foreign students table. All the things that I said is you can see to the next chapter, which is the normalization.
For Chapter 4, Normalization, these tables are already in third normal form. These tables are the reference table for these tables. For the section ID, this table is referenced from here, and all of these are referenced to here. For this foreign student general info, the student ID is referenced from here. The course ID is referenced from here. Section is referenced from here. And organization is referenced from here. For this program and course, this course is also referenced here. And the program is referenced to here. For the department program, the program is referenced here, and the department ID is referenced here. For the department and faculty, the department is also referenced here, and the faculty is referenced here. For the student grade, the student must have a course, so they will have a grade. So the student is referenced to here. The section is referenced here. The course is referenced here. And the grade is referenced to course and student. For the student schedule, the student ID is referenced here. The section is referenced here. A program ID is referenced here. The schedule is referenced from the schedule table. And the sched details will appear when the student already have a schedule. Each student has an academic report. This academic report will appear when student finished their subject. You can see the student grade here and the concerns about the student. The student is referenced to the student ID from the foreign student table there. When a student joins an organization, they will have a student activity report, and this is based on the organization and the student is based on these records.
We use the two types of SQL commands, the DDL and the DML commands. First is data definition language command. So this DDL can change the structure of the table like creating, altering, and etc. So here are some example of DDL command. First is to create a new table. So we can use this. Create table foreign student. Foreign student is the table name. Student ID is a column name, and int is data type. So student name and varchar 2255. So to add another column to an existing table, we can use alter table, foreign student, modify column, course int. Last is truncate table foreign student. So this will delete all the files or all the data inside the table, including the columns. Next is data manipulation language, or DML, are used for adding, deleting, and modifying data inside the database. So are some example of DML commands that we use. First is select student ID, count asterisk as total number from a foreign student table where student time is current student. So this will get all the total number of a current student in foreign student table. So next is select asterisk from a foreign student where student ID is equal to 2018-31183. So this will get all the information from a specific student who have the student ID 2018-31183. For the last is select asterisk from a foreign student information ordered by student name. So get all the information from student information table and arrange it by ascending order. So now we will tackle about the security chapter, and this will talk about the users' roles, their privileges, and the monitoring system for the international students. So the first table shows the specific people or group of people that will use the system. So here are the users or group, and they have their corresponding roles in the system. First is the ISO database administrator. So its role is, his or her role is to administer the system. So the administrator role or the system administration role will be assigned on the ISO database administrator. And next one is the registrar's office and the ISO coordinator, which have an admin role for the system. And lastly, the international students would have the user's role in the monitoring system. And next, for the privileges, as we can see, the database administrator have full control on the system, while the admin roles like the ISO coordinator and the registrar's office only can read, update, delete, insert, and select data from the monitoring system, while the students have limited control, which are the read and the select option for the monitoring system. When you open the database, the first thing that you will see is the login form. At the upper right corner, the X button doesn't work because this prevents the user to access the database unless they log in. You only have one login form for all the 5 users, and the 5 user is the database administrator, the registrar, ISO, OSS, and the student. This is the homepage for database administrator, and they have the full access in the database. Like they can create, this is the create button. They can create, save, and delete data. And they can also update this or create another user. So let's go to home and log out. So for the International Student Office, they can view all the data or delete or update, but they cannot create another user or another form. So let's log out and go for OSS. Our next user is Office of the Student Services. So for this user, they have all the access, but they can only read it. They cannot delete, create, or update any data in this form. So for our next user is Registrar. So for the Registrar Office, they can submit, update, or delete, except for these three, the program department, the department faculty, or the program course, because they can only read this data and nothing else. So let's log out and go for the last user, which is the student user. For student user, they can only view their personal data and related data like this department program and etc.
For Chapter 8, it's the user manual for the database. So as you see on the screen, this is the login page of the database. There are 5 login options for the database. Number 1 is admin, ISO, OSS, registrar, and student. When logged in as administrator, you can see this menu and you can edit all those information when you click it. You can edit all of these informations of the student if you are logged in as admin. When you select one from those tabs, you can edit here. As you can see, you can search, delete, create, or save the records of the student. And you can also browse all the records when you press that button. When you press this button, it will go back to the menu. When logged in as student, you can only see a specific records that match the user. The student cannot create, edit, delete, or update their records. They can only read their records and they can browse through the tabs. For an ISO account, you can see this menu. With using ISO account, you can only search, delete, and save records. You cannot create records by using ISO account or International Student Office. It is almost the same as the admin, but there is no create records. You can also browse all the records from this page. When logging as an Office of Student Services account, you can click this, but you can only read this. There is no option for you to edit, create, delete, or update it. You can only browse records from it. Then when logged in as registrar is acting like an administrator. They can also create, delete, search, save, or update records from this page. They can also browse all records and update each and every records of it.